curious about the physicality of this. I know you're trained in martial arts, right?
Yes.
But how are the rest of you guys dealing with it, and how much is it wreaking havoc on you guys?
Very painfully dealing with it. No, it's you know, we had a really good stunt team with us. You know, so a lot of the worries about getting injured and you know, just kind of the whole you know, explosions and car chases and all of this and the fights and everything. You know, when you're in good hands, that kind of all just goes away as far as the worry of it goes. It was a lot of fun to do, no doubt. But
I'm curious to hear like how each of you were approached about the role and what really attracted you to each of the roles.
Well, I'm going to answer first the other question. And actually, I did not do a lot of action scenes, and I'm going to speak with the writers for the next season because I want to do some more, you know, and I'm trained to, you know. I did a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, things like that. So I did not do a lot of those scenes. But answering your question, I think the most important thing when I wrote the script was the script. I mean, the way it was written was very different from the, you know, in Italy we do television, of course, but it's not so well written. So that was the first point that attached me to this project, you know. And then the character that is not, usually, you know, sometimes Italian characters and rules, you know, Italian characters are a little bit stereotypes like that, and this was not. So actually, was good to deal with something that was not so, you know, stereotypes. Stereotypes is the word. Oh,
yeah.
That's good.
All the training in martial arts is great, but if you've got slippery shoes on hard marble, it doesn't make any difference. And then we started our shoot in a place called Dubrovnik in Croatia, and this Dubrovnik.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dubrovnik, right? Yeah. No, yeah, Dubrovnik is an ancient city, and the whole city is made of marble, which has been polished down over centuries. So I think I won the award for falling over the most times. Running around the city in my suit and my shiny shoes on this polished marble, the entire city, and there's a big sequence. I think it's episode 4, running around there, and I wrecked a couple of suits. And then the first thing I heard about the project was that Ashley Judd was doing the project, which I thought was great, and I think when I read the script, I saw her very easily and convincingly leading the role of protagonist in the show. So that was really great. And then the other thing is that a lot of the TV shows, they offer you a pilot, whereas this was really exceptional. They didn't do a pilot, they did a straight to series. And they offered us a straight 10 episodes, and they weren't going to shoot more than 10, which is really great because it's like doing a movie. You know how long you're going to be on the job for, and you don't have to sit around once they've done the pilot wondering whether they're going to pick up 3 or 6 or not. So that was very attractive. And then the third thing was that they were filming in Europe, and I'd always wanted to go to Prague, and I love Europe. I used to, from New Zealand when I was a youngster, I always used to like save up, and every couple of years I'd buy a ticket and I'd go to a different part of Europe. So this was like a wish fulfillment. I got to go to Prague, which I'd always wanted to go to, and we went to Croatia and Istanbul. So
It's cool.
there's just a lot of good things. And then my character, I think, is as he says, it's like we can. Does that answer the first part? Yeah. Okay, yeah.
For me, it was I guess what I would get to do. I'm a fairly small guy, fairly skinny. A lot of guys my size don't get to play kind of, you know, cool. Well, I'm not exactly the toughest guy. I got kidnapped, so it's not really. But no. The story, you know, itself just kind of, you know, I've a very close-knit family, and kind of telling the story of a family that's trying their hardest to stay together, you know, through, you know, the worst case scenarios, and And then also just I saw a lot of myself in the character of Michael. So I wasn't so much approached with it as much as I was jumping for joy when I heard that I got it. And then it was like, next day I was in Prague. It was pretty quick. So it's still kind of a whirlwind, but it was, it's awesome. Dream come true for me. So.
What about the payoff, though? What about the payoff? I mean, because audiences, they're going to want a payoff of some sort, and how do you keep the storyline? You know what I'm asking?
Well, every single episode has its arc. Every single episode has a feeling of resolution without saying, okay, yeah, that's the series, yeah, that's it. I think through every single episode, people are gonna find some resolution and some sort of payoff. But yeah, we gotta keep the show going.
Hey guys, really quick. It sounds like we've got people join us on speakerphone. Can you guys identify yourself? Who's ever called in? Hello.
Hi, who do we have on the phone?
Hello? Hello?
Hi, do we have Sherry Block on the phone?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay, great.
How much research did you guys do into things like the CIA and all the different, international espionage groups?
Well, not a lot. I mean, I was not really interested on that because I think I already knew something because I did other things like that, other shows, about Interpol, police, agents, whatever. So I was more interested in the relation with Ashley, and so it was not that the point for me.
I like you, I've done FBI and CIA sort of roles before. And
yeah,
so I've over the years I've accumulated kind of a lot of different advisors from the CIA. So I've done a lot of that, but specifically for this one, I had to sort of track. I had to do a sort of like a track, a sort of a logical sort of how would this character, that was me, end up coming from Texas, Blessing, Texas, and end up with that post in Europe. And so I spent a lot of time, actually, you can go on the website, the CIA, and you can like look at their structure and look at how they get enrolled. And I just did a lot of reading, really, and then that was basically most of it was from the website, and then just previously spending time with CIA agents and advisors in the past. Yeah.
For me, none. Aside from the fact that I grew up watching the Bond films, but I didn't have any secret watches or anything like that, so I was pretty much in over my head from the beginning.
But kind of piggybacking off of that, I mean, the show, ABC's kind of promoting the show as a mother, struggling to find her son, but there is such a high concept behind it because she is ex-CIA. So why do you feel that element enhances the story?
Well, I'm the CIA guy in the show, and so there's a great tension, between my character and Ashley's character, because she's got a clear objective, which is to not have anything to do with the CIA and to find her son. But we have all the resources. My job is to sort of get her out of the way because she's kind of unraveling things. She's pulling at a thread, which is very dangerous in that world. And my job is to get her out of the way and get her back home, and to stop her from. But there's this empathy where my character wants to help her on a personal note, to help her, find her son. So there's this great tension in terms of doing my job, which is to manage the CIA across Europe, and to somehow help this woman find her son, which I'm told not to do. So it's complex. That's the complexity behind it. It's a very important part of the show, and that's the fun part too, because we're talking about spies, which is that's the high concept, isn't it? The simplicity of it is a family show because a mum looking for a son, but the fun of it is that we're running around Europe, from Paris to like Italy to, you know, and we're all spies, and you don't know Interpol, and you don't know who you've been kidnapped by or why you've been kidnapped, and that's the intrigue. That's kind of like that satisfies the entertainment aspect of the show, which I think is cool.
I'm curious about, okay, I've got 3 really good-looking guys sitting in front of me, and you were billed as the guys that are the men of this series, and, you know, we talked to actresses about, you know, wanting to be serious actors and what they have to do in their shelf life in the industry. Do you guys, as good-looking men, worry about your shelf life in this industry? And if so, what do you do to maintain how you look, too?
Start with the older guys first.
I'm not the oldest.
It's older. I personally can say not really, but I've been blessed with the fact that I look really young. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess that's always kind of in the back of your mind, but, you know, a life is a life. I mean, you know, I'll be able to play roles when I'm their age that I can't play now, you know, which is a very intriguing thing, and that's a really cool thing to look forward to. I mean, there's always something to look forward to when it comes to, you know, aging. I feel at least, so it doesn't really bother me that much at all. So and yeah, I really don't care about my looks anyway. So
he's lying. I'm not a good-looking guy. I'm just Italian, so it's.
That's all you have to be as Italian.
Yeah, that's unfair.
But honestly, though, it's a serious question because of the fact that women do worry about their shelf life in the industry. Not so much in television, but certainly in this industry.
Yeah, I think that's changing. I mean, that's changing a lot, what you're saying, because, you know, there was a period where I think Meryl Streep was really worried about that. She felt that her shelf life was done, and she couldn't get a job, you know, for a number of years. And then the industry's changed, and she reinvented herself to do comedies and sort of broaden her range and just like to do a whole different range of work. And then Ashley, you know, was a huge movie star and sort of semi-retired, and she's come back out of that. I think so. Things for women is changing a lot. But yeah, not to diminish what you're saying as a fact, or that's not true. It is true. But I think it's optimistically things have changed.
So you guys don't worry about
it. Shelf life. Why? Firstly, I came to this as an artist, and then I became an actor, and then the next part, what you're talking about, is you're sort of crossing over into celebrity, which is about the way you look. An artist is not about the way they look. An artist is kind of like about creating something and working creatively with other artists. An actor is a little bit more about the way they look, because it's about getting roles and and working, and then it's more about your craft. Celebrity is mostly about your looks, and that's kind of an area that I've never really looked at. So I've done the artist thing, I've done the actor thing, but I've never really considered the whole life of a celebrity, so I'm not really qualified to talk about that.
Going back to a couple more questions for the room, and then we'll switch to the phone for a few minutes.
Is there at any point in the season where all 3 of your characters intersect in the scene, or are you guys separate for the most part?
We're not. We never worked together.
No, I don't think
we get together right in.
Yeah.
I don't know if we really.
Yeah,
we are very connected.
They do. They do.
He's kidnapped.
He's kidnapped. I'm gone.
We're trying to find out.
There was a little bit of a moment though in episode 2 where your paths just barely crossed.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. When I was, you know.
So I wasn't sure if there's any more like that.
When you didn't get there in time.
Yeah.
Not enough.
Thanks.
I didn't see you. I don't even know if you were there. I don't even, you know, in his world, he doesn't even know whether he was there or he even exists.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I don't.
Whether he's a figment of this woman's imagination or it's a big ruse. He doesn't know whether he's being played an angle by this ex-agent or what she's doing. So at that point,
I have no idea who's in the picture and who isn't. You know. Michael is pretty much out of the loop. You know, he was thrown into the back of a car. And you know, at one point he knows that his mom is following him, but that's as much as he knows.
I think we're allowed to say, but he has got a fantastic storyline. It just becomes a major thread through the show, through the first. Yeah, we can say that, right? Yeah. It's not like he's like this missing kid that he's just missing and he's a photo on the wall.
Right. Yeah.
We do actually follow his story and what's happening to him and what's going on for him, and he has a whole fantastic thread throughout the show. I think we can say that we do start. I'm aware of him straight away. He's probably not as aware. He's not aware of me as soon as I'm aware of him, and then we start to
fight and everything.
Yeah.
You guys obviously went to a lot of different European cities. I found out from Ashley yesterday that you guys went to a different city for each episode. Can you explain a little bit about what that was like for you as an actor to go to all these different cities?
Yeah, for me, I'm from Europe, so it's very. First of all, it was very. I mean, it's very nice to play in an American TV show and be next to my home, which is Rome, and so for me, I'm used to work in Europe, but it's always good, to travel around and.
He got to come to work and then fly out the same day and go home.
Yeah. I was the lucky guy.
Yeah. It's a little unfair.
I love Europe. I already covered that.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I guess it's me. No, it was. For me, it was a little bit of a culture shock. I'm not. I've spent very little time abroad, so it was a little difficult being over there. But at the same time, it was absolutely, it was one of those. Wow, I'm getting paid for this type, moments. I mean, because it's you get to see all these just beautiful historical places. I mean, one of the places that I stayed in for a while we were shooting is twice as old as the country that I'm living in. I mean, it was just there's so much history and so much rich, just history and life to these places. It was a blessing to be able to see all that.
Okay, let's go to
great food, and it's great to see. There were surprises like Istanbul. I was completely surprised about how beautiful that place was.
Yeah.
On the border between Asia and Europe, and then Croatia. Again, I was stunned because I travelled throughout Europe. There used to be the Eastern Bloc when I first started travelling, so I never went that far.
I'm so jealous of you guys.
Yeah, but it was amazing. Yeah.
Man.
What were you going to say?
Okay. All right, so I'm going to go to the folks on the phone. So, Sherry, let's start with you.
Hi there. How are you guys doing?
Good. Good.
Great. I want to talk to you a little bit more about Europe. I heard somewhere that you consider it almost like a central character, and it's just so nice to see you guys on location. It feels very much like a movie. Do you think the show is that much stronger because of you're in all those locations?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when you're watching green screen, stuff, no matter how good it is, you still can see that element of like a shadow around a person, or there's an element of, okay, I'm watching, something that's not necessarily real. But when you're actually in these locations, you're interacting not only with the actors that you're with, but also the scenery and just the history of it. For me, it helps me as an actor and as an artist to kind of ground myself a little bit more in it. It was wonderful for me.
For me, it's part of the cool factor because it's like we have not only the same locations, but the same crew that they used on Bourne Identity.
Yeah.
The James Bond franchise. Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
So all the crew members are wearing their T-shirts and their caps from the last couple of movies they did, and we actually sort of double it. We actually had the same location scout. So the location scout we were using same locations. If you really know your stuff, you might recognize locations and rooms that we used in those huge movies. So.
Because it doesn't seem to be anything like
and
this
that as great as Hollywood is, it's not quite recreatable in Burbank.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, and Sean?
Hi. Hi, guys.
Hi.
One of the big themes of the show, of course, is the strength of a mother's love, and that point is reiterated a few times in the first couple of episodes that Rebecca will do anything to get her son back. And I'm wondering, as sons and fathers, respectively, to what extent does that ring true for you guys? So the mother's love will push her to protect her children against any threat.
For me being a son, I don't. That rings on 110% true. I don't think there is anything that my parents wouldn't do, to help me, to find me, they'd go to the ends of the earth, just to see me one more time if something like this happened. I have a very strong family and a very tight-knit family, but I think regardless of that, when there's someone that you're close to, and they're suddenly gone from your life, there's that longing and aching to get them back, undeniably, and especially when you know that they could be out there, they're not just completely gone, but they could be out there, and especially if you have the tools to do it. I mean, you go, and even if you don't, you go, because it's someone that you love, it's someone you care for. You only get one life, and you hang on to those people. So I think it's probably the most important thing that you can do.
I think in the context of this is Cliff here. I think in the context of the show, that you're taking that very real love and bond between a mother and child, and then you're putting it into a genre context. So the emotional content rings true, and that's one of the tricky balances in the show, is having somebody that is emotionally true, and the relationship be emotionally true, and then you've got a lot of wish fulfillment, because not many people, men or women, mothers or fathers, have the skill base to enroll the CIA, the Interpol, and go around wielding guns and killing other operatives, as much as you might want to do that for your child, and that's the entertainment aspect. But I think it's also and so I don't know whether that's what you mean when you say, does that ring true? And that rings true in terms of is that something I want to watch? And it's if you want to watch something that's a wish fulfillment, then it's going to work for you. If you don't want to watch something that fulfills on the idea of heroes and superpowers and sort of spies, and that doesn't interest you, then that's going to be a challenge for you. But I think, I enjoy those things. I think they're entertaining, and I think I wish my mum could do some of those things.
Yeah, hi, it's Adriano.
Hi.
Well, my mother is not a CIA agent, is not an Interpol agent, but of course she's an Italian mother, and she can do everything, for her son. And but actually, I think this show it's not just an action show. The deep need of Ashley's character is really it's an emotional thing. It's not, so it's just not action. It's an action moved from a really deep thing, and that's what I think is going to make this show interesting, and easy to read, and easy to understand, and easy to follow. That's what I think.
It's kind of like the scenario where a mother lifts a car off of her kid times 1,000, with CIA powers. So it's it's pretty cool.
Great, thanks, gentlemen.
Okay. And Leanne?
I don't know. I wonder, just relating to what you were saying, I wonder whether that would be a question if it was a Bruce Willis movie, or we accept these genres so easily for Liam Neeson to go around shooting people ad hoc and have absolutely no emotional content to what they're doing because they're devoid of emotion. So I just wonder about about the question itself.
Yeah, good question. Thank you.
Leanne?
I guess my question is for Giancarlo and Cliff. Both of you obviously have extensive experience working on European productions and also films. What is it like working on American TV? How different is it?
Well, for me was the first one, so it's the first time in an American show. It's I don't know. I think maybe because I was shooting in Europe, I was pretty easy, everything. I don't know. It's not so different from, when you are in front of the camera, it's always the same thing. But what I felt different from the Italian shows, TV shows, was the screenplay. All the screenplays were very, very well written. So then, for me, what was interesting in this show as an actor was because we were actors from all over the world: New Zealand, U.S., Italy, Portugal, Croatia, and sometimes in one scene we were 5 actors from 5 different countries, and so to see how different cultural background, how they were dealing with the same scene, that was very interesting for me to see how was the different look, the different perspective they had. And so from an acting point of view, that was very, very interesting, because of course the cultural background puts you you see different things, and so you understand how he's looking the scene, and he's New Zealand, and he's pretending to be American. So there was this, it's different cultural things. So you understand different looks,
I think the distinction for me is not just whether I'm working with an American crew or an American show, is that we're working on prime time, an 8 o'clock slot, and so that has a lot of kind of I don't know. It's got a lot of prescriptive elements that it has to deal with, in terms of story beats and elements and sort of, things that you can say and things that you can't say. And I think that's the biggest difference for me, coming from film, and especially coming from art house film. That's the biggest issue for me, is the biggest difference. But if you're talking about American cable shows, they don't have those same restrictions. So it's not. I wouldn't sort of just say polarize it as an American difference. It's more about being on primetime television.
Did anyone else join us on the phone? Okay. All right. Thanks, Leanne. Jennifer, do you have a question? Maybe she's the one who left.
Jennifer is still here.
Wasn't joining us. It was
okay.
us.
Thank you, those of you on the phone. We'll come back to you one more time.
All right. Leanne pointed out your name, and frankly, you do have a famous name, and I kind of like the idea that your name on the show kind of resonates with it. Did it kind of go, oh, come on, really? Was there a moment?
Yeah, of course, yeah. But I was already like that. I mean, so I say, okay, another time, whatever.
But is there something to be said from coming from such an iconic acting family like that, and to have, how hard did you have to work to get your own recognition?
Well, first of all, I worked as a camera assistant, camera operator for 10 years before being an actor. So I went through that way, and then I think it's easier in a way, because also my mother, she's an actress, and in this job, to have, if you can have the chance to deal with the problems of this work with someone who loves you, it's easier, and I mean, you don't have always to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Papa, what's going on? I have to do this." And so, but sometimes, it's good to have that chance to so it's easier in a way, and same job, same problems, same good things, and you can share things, and it's even good for the relationship, It's. But then what I did 10 years ago. I did a remake of a movie my father did. So after that, from that point of view, it's done. You know what I'm saying? Was my second movie as an actor. I was playing his role, after 30 years. So did that.
Does he know about the name though? Your character?
Not yet. No.
So I have a random question for all three of you. If you were missing, and you could pick any fictional character to come and find you, and you can't say Becca Winston, who would you want?
Any fictional character?
Any fictional character.
Any fictional character?
In all the TV? I mean, every.
Any fictional character.
Okay.
Wow.
I'll say Jack Bauer. I'm a fan.
But he only does it in 24 hours, so he might.
Yeah, might.
But Jack Bauer's a good one.
I Doc Brown and Marty McFly. I don't know, because we could just go back and change that all from happening and have some fun at the same time and wonder how the heck they knew where I was and all that. I don't know.
And I'm thinking Gandalf. That's a tough question.
Well, all of you guys have the main thing in common that you're working with Ashley. So what's it like working with her?
Well, for me it was very easy. I mean, in the way I remember the first day of shooting, and for me, first day of shooting is the first day for everybody. And that day, my first day, I had 10 scenes. I've never worked so hard like the first day of shooting. I know another language, a new movie, a new show, whatever. And I remember her, because maybe I forgot some lines, the first day. I was working on things like that. And she was really nice because she was helping me a lot, so it's easy. I mean, it's easy, you know what, because when you're dealing with such good actors, and it's easy because sometimes, I don't know if I can say that, as actors, sometimes you're not always 100% in a scene. Sometimes you're lost, and maybe you haven't slept well, so sometimes you get lost in a scene. You're not so in the spot, that scene. And when you're working with good actors, you just have to, if you're not really 100%, you just look the actor. And when they're so good, they can bring you in the scene again. You know what I'm saying? So it's easier. It's always easier.
Yeah.
I was a fan from the start, so that was easy for me too. Yeah. I'd consider her a friend of mine now, so she was very generous with me, I thought with the time, and I was very interested in her humanitarian work that she's doing. That's the hot topic right now. It's become kind of fashionable in the last few 24 hours. I see, who's this character? Pardon? Coney. Yeah, and I think that's a great thing, but a lot of these celebrities, Ashley included, has been working with this stuff for near on a decade. So I think that's a great thing.
Well, for the scene and a half that I had with her, it was wonderful. Working with her it's a lot like Adriano said. When you're working with a good actor, a good artist. Even if you get lost, all you have to do is basically just look back at them, look in their eyes, and kind of brings you back. At the same time, because I had a good relationship with her off the set. Actually, my primary relationship was off the set, honestly. But she's just one of the strongest, smartest, and most confident people, not just women, but people that I've ever met. And there were a few times where I went through a little bit of homesickness and kind of broke down a little bit, and she was always there as a mother, type figure. I don't believe she even has any kids of her own, but my gosh, it was so loving and caring that you just kind of, you just felt safe around her. At least, I can speak for myself in saying that, and that was something that was very vital to have over there. Was that feeling. So.
Are there any particular episodes you're really excited for viewers to see?
Yes, I can say personally. Okay. Gosh, now I got to think of the numbers. 1, obviously. 2 is a good one. I really like 4. 6. But it could go on for a while. Well, the reason why I say that, why I'm excited, actually I should say 3. The reason why I'm excited is because, as I believe it was Cliff was saying earlier, you start seeing 2 stories. It's not just Ashley and kind of her search for me, but you also then see me, my character, going through kind of the same thing. Michael trying to escape in his own way, and he starts coming up with some pretty clever ideas. It was a lot of fun to shoot those, and I start then I start working with this actress Teresa Vršíčková, who's Czech, who is absolutely fantastic to work with. Yeah. And I think, just between the 2 of us, we had a lot of fun. So I'm really looking forward to the rest of the world seeing that as well. There's a lot of really good episodes. I mean, personally, I wasn't there for a lot of the shooting of them, so I guess I can't say how good they were. But no.
I haven't seen. I've only seen 1. I think I've only seen 1
and 2.
1 and 2.
You saw 2.
I think I've seen 1 and 2. So that said, I am excited probably around about 6 and 7 because there's a lot of information in the show, and being the CIA guy, I'm the one that's responsible for gathering all of the information and disseminating the information, not only to all of the CIA agents and Interpol and all of the other agencies, but also for the audience. So it's like I'm kind of like the guy you see in episode 1 and 2. I'm like gathering information, which is what the CIA does, and then they make decisions. And he's sort of hamstrung between doing that job, getting orders back from Washington, and this sort of like emotional sort of thing, wanting to put this family back together again. But around about 6 and 7, he starts to get things happen in the series, and around about then he starts to get more involved in the action. I think that we start sort of mixing it up, and he gets out there a bit more, which is
I can actually say ditto for the same thing.
Yeah.
For the same reasons, for 6 and 7.
Yeah. And those are parallel stories that are taking place in present day, your story and your story. And,
yeah.
But the show opens set in the past. So how much are we ever flashing back again to kind of inform the relationships that are now?
They did a very clever thing, and I think they did a very good job of this, is that the storyline with the past life, with Ashley's character's past life, is directly related to the present. So each episode and each location is a place that she's been before, and something happened there in her past 10 years ago.
But we're not necessarily seeing what happened there in the past.
We kind of do follow this parallel sort of world. So that's her emotional, the content of the show. So she's like revisiting her past, not only psychologically and emotionally, but physically. She's revisiting these places where things happened and circumstances, and she's understanding more and more what happened and why this has happened to her son. And it's bringing up all of these things that she thought she'd left alone a long time ago, but they've come back to haunt her. So
and also at the same time,
there's a lot of flashbacks.
Right, and also at the same time, in the first, if anybody's really seen the trailer, Sean Bean is dead within the first 5 seconds.
Right.
But what's really cool about the flashbacks is you actually he's there all the time. And you really see them not only just from the spy angle and the work and everything and that whole thing, but you also see them grow as a family. You see Michael growing. You see the two of them.
See you when you're like 6 years old or something, right?
Yeah, you see me 8. You
go back to before he was born.
You see me before I was born. Well, you don't see me before I was born. But you see the relationship of the two of them, and you know, kind of from the you get all this backstory, and you know, that really ties in really well with then the family, and you know, it's not just a single mother and a son.
And that's where you get a lot of the really fun stuff, which is like betrayal and revenge, which is always good in a genre thing like this.
Yeah.
And it all comes from the past. You're meeting old characters that did things that were not good, and you know, and you see characters who are ashamed of things they did in the past, and finding resolution and completion in those things, episode to episode to episode. And hopefully, by the time we've finished the series, well, no, we will. By the time we finish the series, that whole story is now complete, and there's resolution. The season. I think of them as like a spinal. That's how I sort of understand it. Each episode is like a chapter in a spinal, and so the first season is one novel done. So what's the next novel done?
Okay, we're going to have to wrap up in a couple of minutes, but let's go back to the phones. Anyone else? Jennifer, have you joined us back on the phone? Or does anyone else have a question?
I have, yeah. Sorry, guys.
Okay,
I got cut off.
Go ahead. Do you have a question for the guys?
Okay. I do. I actually have one question each. I'm not sure if we have time, but we'll see what we can do.
We've got 2 minutes.
The first question is for Cliff. Hi, Cliff. In the pilot episode, you know, Rebecca makes this assessment of Dax, and she basically comes to the conclusion that he's not a family man. And now the audience finds out in episode 2 that that's not actually the case. And my question for you is, do you think that his involvement with Rebecca will make him reevaluate his relationship with his own family?
That's a very good question, and yes, that's exactly what's going on. And so the big strong theme throughout the whole show is about family, and so the sacrifices we make in our work and our careers, with our family or for our family, for our work and our careers, or what we value in life, what we think is important. And so Dax's character has to reevaluate the choices he's made. See, her character, she gave up her career as being a CIA agent to have a family. Dax didn't. Dax gave up his family to have a career as a CIA agent. And so he's conflicted, and we follow that line throughout the series.
Very good, very good. And can I ask Adriano and Nick a question? Okay.
Yeah, quickly.
So for Adriano, just on Giancarlo, he seems to be, you know, he's the one person in the world who seems to understand Rebecca completely. And, you know, I really love the scene, you know, from episode 2, The Hard Drive, where he tells her, you know, that she kind of needs to effectively shelve her mother's instinct so that she can be more cold and calculating in the field. And, you know, he tells her that's the only way she's going to get her son back.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's kind of, their relationship strikes me as very interesting. And I'm wondering, are we going to see, you know, I know some of the guys mentioned the backstory, but are we going to see more on their relationship and their history particularly together?
Yes. Yes. You know, basically this my character he's trying to help her because she needs help. She needs help in Europe, and she needs someone like me, who's an Interpol guy, who can help her. And this guy, my character, he's helping her because basically he loves her. So, you know, he's trying to, he's gonna do a lot of things against Interpol, trying to help her. So he's always willing to something back, maybe from her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And my last question is for Nick.
Yeah.
So, what awesome parents, Ashley Judd and Sean Bean.
Sure.
So, you know, how much of a chip off the block is Nick? And, you know, are we going to get to see him use some of his smarts and his cunning, you know, that the same kind of skills that his mother has? Are we going to see him doing some amazing things?
For Michael, you know, that's kind of an interesting question. Because bottom line is he doesn't know. He doesn't know that they're, ex-CIA or anything like that. That being said, I think without giving anything away, I can say he was taught some things when he was younger that he didn't necessarily realize why he was taught or what they could be used for. Just kind of a little bit more than general Boy Scout stuff we're talking here. He definitely is not from a normal family. He can take care of himself to an extent. So I hope that answers your question without giving too much away.
It does.
All right.
No, that's great. I really appreciate it. Thanks a million, guys.
Sure. You're welcome.
Bye.
Okay. We have time for, I think, maybe one more question.
Can I
Yes,
ask one? And
Jamie.
I apologize
Jamie
for,
just joined
for being
us.
late, and if you already answered this question, just ignore it. Cliff, you have such a great film career. I was just wondering the sort of contrast of joining a TV series and how that, is it an adjustment for you as an actor, or what was sort of did you want to be part of an episodic series? What's it been like for you joining the show?
No, it's been great. I mean, there used to be a very strong line between television and film, and that's sort of eroded over the last decade. It's like now movie stars are on television and television stars are in movies. It's like we're just going back and forth like that, and that just was not how it was done when I first started working in LA. So that's that part. And then for me, it's like just having more sort of like a leading man roles in television that have been very, open to me doing that in TV. Whereas in film and big action movies and stuff like that, I'm usually sort of like pitted up against the Bruce Willises and the Johnny Depps and the George Clooney's, So they've already got their leading man, and I'll be playing like second fiddle. So, in the television world, they're sort of like giving me the opportunity to become more of a leading man, and that's been wonderful.
Great.
There are not a lot of good movies now all around the world. good TV shows, but movies.
Do you feel like TV is actually better work
they're
now?
saying it's the golden age.
I would say so.
It's the golden age. That's what it's saying, and it's true. You can turn on television, and it's fantastic, and a lot of the movies.
Think about the movies from the 70s, the 80s, and think about the movies now.
It was actually kind of funny. When I was in school a few years ago, I was, they were asking me, what do you want to do? Like, how far do you want to go with this? And I was like, I want to be a movie star. And they immediately went, no, you want to be a television star. That's better right now. And I said, okay, cool.
Is the storytelling better, do you think, as actors, the storytelling more opportunities?
I think, especially with this one, we really get a good opportunity to tell a lot more stories because it's an hour long, but every single one of the episodes is shot like a movie. So it's got that kind of aspect to it. We've got some crazy stunts and special effects as well. Kenny Bates, who did a lot of the Michael Bay and Jerry Bruckheimer stuff, did that. So we've got all the action, everything like that. And then we've got the TV side, which is, kind of, you get filled in, we have a little bit more time to tell the story. So I think it's a great mix of the two.
I think it's a good question. In terms of is it better storytelling? I think that things are changing a lot, and and even primetime television, they're making much greater, bigger sort of risks and taking on much bigger challenges in terms of production. But in terms of story, I think that if you were looking at this genre film as in a movie, you've got like 90 minutes. And for this genre, you're not going to bother with emotional content. Mm-hmm. You're just going to do straight action sequence to action sequence. And you're not going to bother with relationship and backstory. You're just going to go hell for leather action, from start to finish. In 10 episodes, you can build in these emotional threads and sort of spend more time with backstory. And that adds another level of complexity. You've got other challenges because you've got to do it in between a number of ad breaks. You know, so I think that there is the opportunity for reading a short story versus reading a novel.
Yeah. More character development.
Yeah, there's opportunity there. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.